And we are live with this week's edition of Common Ground Small Business Spotlight. Today we will be talking with Jeffrey from Hebrews and Marcia from Hebrews Community Coffee here in Woodlands, Texas. They're joining me from their corporate headquarters here in the foggy and dreary Woodlands today.
Right.
This is actually our first episode of Common Grounds, and what I wanted to talk about real quick before we get into the meat and potatoes of the show is why I'm doing this podcast. I was approached a few weeks ago by one of my friends after watching the podcast that we started over on Roasters Marketplace, our show sponsor, by the way, roastermarketplace.com. And he wanted to get on and tell his story. But I was like, dude, you're not involved in coffee at all. You're as far away from coffee as possible. And he's like, well, what can we do? And I sit there and I looked, I was like, you know what? I think I got an idea. And that's how Common Grounds was born. We're going to share each other's stories. We're going to talk about what we have in common being from different walks of life, but what we share in this space on journey of life together. And a few weeks ago, or a couple months ago, I met Jeffrey at the Woodlands Farmers Market one day when I was first starting to get into coffee. And I think the first thing we talked about was somebody else who I needed to talk to. I needed to go talk to Chris over at Purify because his story is amazing. And that's the thing that we're getting is in social media today, we're so detached. We're so attached to our phones and not connecting to people like we used to. And everybody still has stories. Everybody still has amazing stories. And that's what we want to share on Common Grounds. So, Jeffrey and Marcia, I'm going to turn it over to you. Tell us a little bit about Hebrews Coffee and how you got there.
It's so sad because we have a cafe over at a church that we dearly love called Freedom Church on 1488. All we do is we run in with coffee and milk and we supply everything for Sunday morning. And we have a group of leadership that comes and takes, the day. And Marcia and I run back over to our church and we, lead worship and do some stuff. And this girl walked up to me. She goes, she just had these questions and trying to get the iPad going or trying to get the register started. And she goes, what's your goal? What's your plan? And I said, well, it's this, it's that, it's this and that. And I said, it's probably not the best time to talk about it, but I said, our heart is really just to connect with community for Christ and coffee. I said, this opportunity at this one church cafe was, maybe it's small, but it was special to us. And I thought, man, we could do this everywhere with churches. We could just supply coffee and, employ their kids and do fun stuff. And this girl had no idea why we were doing coffee in her church. Right. I'm pretty sure she just thought we were some chumps, supplying coffee, and there was just no story behind it. And why are you guys at a church? And why, So I think sometimes we, as business people, can do a really bad job of telling our story. And, people want to hear the story.
They do.
I want to hear the story. I want to know what makes you tick. I want to know why you started a business. I want to know all your problems. I want to know how you're getting through them. It's exciting for me and Marcia. We love sitting with people and counseling and just being a part of their lives. But it's about doing life in business. I mean, we have to work. We have to make money. We have to do certain things. But wouldn't it be great if we were doing the things that we love to do, and that was our job, and God tends to take us into crazy places. But it all started with probably about 7 or 8 years ago. I don't know, really, probably 7, was the idea of Hebrews Coffee. Okay. And I'll tell you a little bit of my story, but at the place I was at, there wasn't a lot of outside information to let me know that Hebrews was not like this brand new creative thing that, oh my God, Geoff, you're the only person who's ever brews. Oh my God, they're going to love it in the Christian community and everybody will. No, it'd probably been a pretty played out joke for 10 years. But where I was at, it was like the most special thing in the world. So 7 or 8 years ago, we'll just start. I think this is important. If there's business leaders that are listening, if you have a story, this is where it can help and start sharing with other people that are trying to start their businesses out. Because my business or our business idea really came from complete failure, a life of failure. And it's cool. It turned out good, but it started bad. just to share with you guys a little bit, it was involved with the company business, 2006, 2007, 2008. The economy just goes to garbage. Family members that I was involved with got in trouble, went to trial in the state of Texas. That one family member lost, and he was given 42 years non-aggravated time in the Texas prison. Because I had worked for this company and organization, and because I had some inside knowledge about people being owed money, and guess what? They came after me. And when I went to trial and tried to fight it in my own pride, they gave me 2 25-year sentences stacked, justly so. And it just crushed my life because of the time, and I'm not speaking to anybody personally, but just I was an atheist. I was very lost, and just kind of made it my business to destroy people that had faith. Looking back, not a great idea. But being in college, doing open debate forums about evolution, just really trying to, probably because I just couldn't understand it. And I tell you, when the gavel slammed and the 25-year sentences were stacked, which means you have 50 years, man, all my atheism was really out the door at that point.
Yeah.
I didn't have cute little Billy Graham tracks that said, hey, if you just pray this prayer, Jesus will save you. Or I really had to go through a place about 2 or 3 days of just going, are you real? Becoming very suicidal, going to lose everything. Going to lose my wife at the time, not Marcia. Going to lose my family. My dad's gone. My mom's gone. And it was just going to be me and God for a while, and I didn't know how long that while was. But I went on an amazing journey where I was gone. Ooh, okay, so in Texas, when you commit a crime, there's if you get a lot of time for your crime, it puts you at a different classification. So although my crime was non-aggravated, I hadn't used a weapon or hurt anybody to get aggravated time, I got non-aggravated time. But because it was 50 years, it put me in a classification with guys that had life sentences for sex crimes or murder or just deadly weapon use. So when I got to the finally, to make the story a little shorter, when I finally get in the prison, I talked to the warden. He said, I don't know what you did. I don't know if we said to piss some people off. But if you would have had 49 years, I could have used you. But because you have 50, I'm going to send you out to the fields, and you're going to work with an Aggie, and you're going to be out there for 10 years, and then we'll reclassify you. If you can only imagine, like, I'm a new believer. I'm thinking God's going to do great things. I'm not going to have to spend that much time in prison. No, God was sending me on a really crazy journey, apparently into fields with an Aggie. So going into incarceration, kind of a new faith, and I look like this. So I don't have tattoos all over my face. I don't look the part. What do I look like? I look like a child molester. I certainly don't look like a robber. Certainly don't look like I'm a bank robber or murderer. So there's just a stigma walking through incarceration and really being crushed and going through fire. But man, I met some of the sweetest people that were totally tapped out for Jesus, and they blew my mind. Triple, quadruple life sentences, just glowing with the glory of Moses, on fire, and just willing to spend a lot of time with me. So for years and years, I spent discipling under these men. Didn't really know what was going to happen. I had to make parole on the first 25 in order to start the next 25. So I knew that a miracle had to happen to get the other 25 either taken away or get them unstacked and run them consecutive. Well, it took 4 years, and just a miracle decision through the appellate court, probably less than 1% chance that this could happen. They unstacked my charges. But for that 4 years, I just hadn't wasted a single second. I just been studying and learning and taking classes and accounting classes, kind of vowing that I would never be in a financial position or situation again where I could be caught up in any crime or be culpable to anything that was going on outside of my knowledge or, what was taking place. So I just didn't waste it. But then my sentences got unstacked, and I went from being in 50 years of incarceration to 25 years, which was a big difference. Doesn't sound like a big difference, but I got to be in trustee camps, and I felt like God was really leading me to start playing piano. So I learned how to play piano on a piece of paper, like a manila folder. And I had this old Hispanic guy that would teach me, like, give me a C. And I had like chicken chords to learn that. And then as I transitioned into leadership, there was a lot of men that were really, 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 really hungry, man. They really needed some time. And that's one thing that I had a lot of time. And when I transitioned to trustee camps, which are really nicer places to live, I was able to start leading there and doing some small groups. But one thing happened that was interesting is we started doing big Bible studies with about 30 guys, and we would all start drinking Hebrews coffee. And so everywhere we went, it was the joke was like, oh, we're having Hebrews coffee, because they have this terrible, for all my coffee people out there, terrible instant coffee in prisons that they call gunpowder. Somebody out there is going, amen, brother. I was there. I know. Gunpowder, it is just awful. So you can get sweet and loaves and you can get certain things. You try to make your coffee better, but we were always drinking Hebrews coffee. Now, I don't even remember, but that story is really told through the guys that were around me now that are being successful. And they're going, man, we were always drinking Hebrews coffee. You don't remember that? I was like, God, really? I said, this thing started that long ago, but it did. There was a vision there. There was something that was happening. I understood that what it was going to take for me to be successful on the outside was I was going to need community. And what was always present when I was doing small group studies or worship events, or I finally learned how to play piano and started leading worship, which was crazy, and got really great in terms of what was taking place at the time. And we always had coffee involved. And so just fast forwarding, and not give you all the great details of the story, my incarceration, I was gone 8 years. And so within those 8 years, a lot of things happened, a lot of changes in my heart. But when I got out, I was kind of released on the world, and I was really excited. Okay. I was like, all right, I'm here. I've been discipled for 8 years. Plug me in. Let's go. And one of the bigger churches in the area, we're still really involved with them today, Woods Edge Church. And, I remember walking up to the guy at the door and being like, okay, brother, here's the deal. I've been gone for 8 years. I've been discipled by the Lord for 7. I just want you to know I'm here to serve. I'm ready to get plugged in, whatever. This guy's face dropped. Didn't know what.
He scared him.
Hold on. Yeah. Let me get somebody. Hey, security. No, not security. Hey, let's get some. So they tagged me. And I just remember like, man, I was so hungry for that community. I was so hungry for people to want to connect and get together. And I thought, okay. And so 2 months after that, got just really struggling. Part of the entrepreneurship or wanting to start a business, it didn't happen just because Marcia and I had money. It really took some other people that came alongside us in the beginning to help. And one of the breakthroughs and blessings is that we've to some degree, we've bought everybody out of our business, and it's actually 100% ours today. So that's a great testimony.
Yeah, congratulations on
last
that.
week.
Thank
Yeah.
you, yeah.
Awesome.
I mean, it kind of cost us everything we had, but praise the Lord, we're coming. But it's great. It's a place of freedom, and everybody warned me, don't get partners, don't do this. I don't think we could have done it any other way. These guys were tremendous in helping us get off the ground, and we needed them, But for 2 months, I really couldn't find a job. So hopefully I'm speaking to somebody out there that's maybe struggling in the same area. And even guys getting laid off now from oil and gas. I mean, 2 months, I just spent meeting with leadership, meeting with ministries, meeting with business people. Come have coffee with me. Just let me have coffee with you. I just want to sit and hear what you have to say, and what can I do to connect in that area or whatever. And I'm telling you, 2 months to the day, I got a job. One was I started a construction job because in prison you work 12 hours a day. So when I got to the nice place, the trustee camp, now I was working in Warden's home doing sheetrock tile and painting, which I had zero experience in the past. So got really good at that. And so I thought, all right, I'm out. I'm going to go, hire on with a construction guy, just a grunt. Now, so I get a job as a construction guy. And do you know the other company that hired me? You're going to love this. Coffee people, listen up. Starbucks, Hughes Landing. I go and I share my story with the
Manager.
Well, the manager, but the GM,
Oh,
the GM of Starbucks. I don't know where she was at, and she kind of looked at me like, okay. I said, I really want to start a coffee company one day, and I think working here would actually help me to understand the training side and the process that you guys go through. And I'm a terrible barista. I have no experience.
Yeah.
Okay. So she took me with my story, and she brought me in, and they trained me because I was a terrible barista. And I get an interesting letter from Starbucks corporate about a month into the job. Hey, we appreciate you trying to work for the Starbucks Corporation, but unfortunately you have a felony and we don't allow that. And we've decided to not hire you through this process. Okay, so I go in my little GM and I say, hey, I got this letter today. I understand. No hard feelings. I mean, they don't want me. I get it. It's no big deal. And she read the letter and she said, okay, did I hire you? I go, yes, ma'am, you did. Did your district manager hire you? Yes. Do you feel like you need to lose your job today? I go, no, I don't at all. She goes, then go back to work. This has nothing to do with the store. And I thought, Jesus, you are on the throne. So anyway, so to all my Starbucks people, I love you. Thank you for the opportunity. I took everything good you had and I started a coffee trailer.
Nice.
So it's just that opportunity of being in, having that. And for 1 year, we stayed with the Starbucks Corporation and it was great. And I realized that not anything against Starbucks, but one thing is I was really in tune with people. And yes, they were buying, and yes, they were the ones that were paying the money for the. But I thought, man, there can be something more relationally that's taking place here, rather than John, your latte's ready. And so at the store I was at, customer connections were going up, and people are sending in letters like, and it wasn't just me, it was just people were getting excited about people.
We still have good friends that he met at Starbucks.
Oh man,
we still see customers of his that
we pulled up to Whole Foods, man. These folks from Germany were, I said, hey, we talked to them and I realized they came to our wedding, so 2 months and I met Marcia right at the day I got the job at Starbucks and the day we were out at the construction job. I think I got him the same day. I met Marcia at a Bible study and I was sharing my story and she came in and she goes, sir, did you just say that you've been to prison? I was like, yes, ma'am. I did. There's more to the story. I don't know if you want to stay for that or, but man, she was like, wow, I have this testimony too that I want to tell you. But my husband, when I was in my 20s, he actually went away and I stayed faithful, not just to him so much, but to my kids. And I just stayed with him and he got out and did not stay a good guy. But, while he was away, he was sharing sharing information about the Lord and sending out pamphlets, and Marcia really got on fire for God, and I'm telling Marcia's story, but telling the purpose for God in her life. But it was really sweet, and so Marcia and I's storyline just started going, and of course she was in logistics and was miserable doing that. Is there anything you want to interject? I feel like I'm taking all the space.
No. I just when I felt like God just really put us in each other's path, and when we met each other, just probably started seeing each other maybe a month after that, and we were married,
3 days later.
No, but shortly after that. I mean, I think it was like 4 months when Geoff proposed, and so we really felt like God had brought us together. So yeah. And
so in the midst, there's a lot of storyline dialogue, but just in the midst of all that, we're broke. Like Marcia basically says, look, I really feel like God is leading me out of logistics. And unfortunately, I'm making $9 to $10 an hour. And that's kind of all society was willing to pay me at the time. But I said, are you sure that he's leading you out of making all the money?
Well, we had really come to a place where we felt like God would use, what we had been through in the past. And we just felt like, there was a ministry there. And shortly after we got married, he actually started working for a ministry doing their PR. Yeah. So God kind of brought him into a different place, and he, the construction kind of ended and he went into this nonprofit. And so we just started kind of sensing after a few months that God was going to bring, there was some kind of ministry that God was calling us to. And so I walked away from my job in faith, and his season with Starbucks, he really felt like it had come to an end. It was great, but not knowing that we would have a coffee company, we just stepped out in faith. And so I started going with him to the nonprofit organization and just started helping there. And then that quickly came to an end. They just shut down, and we were left at a place where okay.
I thought it was this was it. It was, hey, we want to hire you in PR. Yeah. And my background back in the day in the perfect world before I messed it up was supposed to be U of H and graduating with a public relations degree and doing some kind of fun stuff in that area with advertising, marketing, promotions. So finally I get a job and we want to hire you for PR. you look like you can do social media or whatever. I was like, yes. And so like 3 months, we had a really good time, met a ton of people, and then they had a fire and it shut down the place. I was like, Lord Jesus. Yeah. So now we're jobless together.
Yeah. But at the time there was a lot of stirring. We were meeting a lot of brothers in the faith that had their own businesses, that we were in meetings. We had no idea why we were even there. It had nothing to do with us. It had to do with other businesses. And we really don't know what happened. We just got put in this mix organically. And next thing you know it, we just were like, okay, God, what do you want to do? And we took about 3 weeks and really just sat and prayed. And every day we're like, whatever you want to do today, here we are. And God would just always have something for us to do. And about 3 weeks after that, all of a sudden there was just talks about a trailer. And another brother said, well, what can I do for you guys? Maybe the startup capital we can help you with. And we're like, okay. And it quickly just happened. Like quick. 2 weeks later, we had a trailer, and we actually had our first event before we were finished. We had the trailer that was pretty ready, but we kind of wanted to customize it. And so that's it. It was
coffee business. Local coffee is a big concern of ours to keep everybody connected and speaking and communicating. So Trilogy Brew, which took over Blue Giraffe in Old Town Spring, Trilogy Brew had this trailer, and they've been using it for a year and parked it over at HEB and had a really good reputation, HEB on 99, of just being a coffee provider out there. And so when they kind of moved into brick and mortar, they thought, we're not doing it with a trailer. Why don't we just try to sell it to these guys, because they want to do this Hebrews coffee, and we'll see what happens. What happened is one of their members, their partners, said, you know what, I really feel like God's doing something with you guys. So maybe I can just provide this trailer into the mix, and just for some percentage of the business. So really, with another brother with some capital and this brother with a trailer, man, we threw together a Hobby Lobby sign, and we were at a Christian rock concert like that. Heavy metal Christian rock.
Yeah, selling coffee.
Hopefully all your viewers know this is the faith and family portion of Common.
Yeah, this is definitely that's just awesome though.
Yeah.
So and we had a trailer, and we went full time into it.
Yeah.
And so for really a year and a half, we have lived in and off of the trailer, just doing events. Yep. But we found very quickly, we wanted to do brick and mortar. We partnered with a cupcake company. We started coffee service providing for about 4 locations. That was good. It was just really a headache. And it was really just Marsha and I and a team of people, a lot of volunteers, a lot of kids.
Just realize brick and mortar, like how much more, we were always thinking about it. We were always, it was like 24/7 concern. And it's really sweet with the trailer because you're so mobile. You go to people and they love it. Like that's what's exciting is whether we go to businesses or schools or events, they love that we're there. They're so excited that we're there. And so it really just opens up a door to just do whatever God wants to do and just, encourage and just connect people. I think that's the main thing is like Geoff is such a connector, and the relationships that not only in our life, but to connect others, it's been amazing because I don't think we're so connected with different churches and different people just because of this trailer.
And the trailer makes, the trailer makes makes sense for your attitude almost, Geoff, your personality.
The hot mess.
The trailers look awesome. The trailers cool. But you're at the Galleria and you're posting pictures there. You're at this school function and you're posting pictures there. Yeah. And the trailer's almost its own entity in the shot. It is. Yeah. It's your own character that y'all have made it. And it's just, I think that's the first thing I ever noticed when I saw y'all at the farmer's market, because that's my first exposure to Hebrews coffee is the farmer's market right down the road. And, I came from where I was stationed and came here, and I was still living on the other side of 45 when we were coming to the farmer's market over here in the Woodlands. And you saw it and you're like, oh, that's cool. Oh, I get it. Oh, okay. It all made more sense the more you got and read little signs. I was like, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the coffee's really, really good.
Yeah.
And
we have a wonderful, great, amazing coffee roaster.
Yeah, we're like most retailers. We have no responsibility, or we're like sharing the gospel. We really didn't do the gospel. Jesus did it. We have a roaster. It's like that. And you've met Chris Johnson, the Purified Coffee Roaster. And he's really just come up in the last year and a half and is producing some amazing fair trade organic coffees.
Very good.
Backside of Old Town Spring. And I don't know if you got an interview with him yet, but he's a tremendous brother. He actually helps me at the church play drums. The church we go to is because he drugged me kicking and screaming to it. No, that's not true. No, but he was there and he said, "Man, come check it out." Man, we just fell in love with the intimacy of that small church, and we've been there for probably a year and a half, almost 2 years now, because of him. So if you guys don't know Purified Coffee Roasters,
you're going to.
It's a big deal.
Yeah,
Chris is awesome. I met Chris last week. Went down there, took some video and some pictures. Picked up 3 bags. The Chimbu, I think I'm saying that right. And then your blend. Yes. I'm drinking your espresso blend right now.
You know what's cool is he made us that. He just was not roasting an espresso at the time because the gourmet market of Houston wanted all this light stuff. Really blonde, really light, bright coffee. And when I met him, I was like, I'm not a bright coffee kid. I don't think the Woodlands is. I could be wrong. We need a really cool chocolatey, caramelly espresso. So he made the Hebrews espresso. It's so cool to all our friends at Blue Door. Like that product is being used in different retail markets in the Woodlands now. And that's what's cool is like Hebrews is in there. Chris kept the name.
Yep.
And so
it's really good.
It became a cool relational point for him and I to have that coffee and have the brand and and it's great. It's great coffee. And you're drinking it as a brewed coffee.
I did a V64 over this morning.
We do that at our house.
We do.
We drink the espresso at the
really
house.
Like it. Yes.
But that's what we pull shots with. I mean, that's what we've used for a year and a half. We have not changed. Some of the medium blends have changed. The Chimbu is really good. The Papua New Guinea, that's been our probably staple for the last year as a good medium light. But yeah, he's tremendous and he's a blessing. So. But that's kind of where we're at. And we've had I think in the models, if we just speak business, I think our heart would be to have in the future, or at least it was, to have brick and mortars and little Hebrews coffee cafes that people can connect at and Bible study and do whatever. It is a pain. Brick and mortars are very tough. The margins are very small. The overhead is ridiculous in the Woodlands.
Maybe in the future, there's also like a talk of co-oping with other faith-based companies, and but maybe we're in a work suite. It's called work suite, but like a WeWork type environment right now that Marsh and I work in, and it's that same idea of how do I co-op space? So maybe the blunt of the cafe is not all on the cafe to make it happen. Maybe there's a church that meets there on Sunday and Wednesdays. Maybe there's another business that operates out of it. Somehow dividing the capital costs and could really help some small time, because we just don't have a lot of money, but the small time retailer.
Right.
It's different than walking in with $250,000 to $500,000 for build out. And there's people that have some serious money to do a great job. We are like the low end, But what's cool is maybe there's the possibility our model changed a little bit to do more trailers or to do trucks.
Well, and I think it's because we don't want to stop the mobile end of it, because we do have all the events and functions and businesses that we do, all of it just comes to us. It's nothing we have to go out and get. And part of it is you realize there's really definitely not in the Woodlands area. There's no other mobile coffee trailer. I mean, there are copper coil, but they're stationary. They don't move. And so different churches and businesses that they come to us. We don't even have to go out and find any kind of business. And so we wouldn't want to stop that end of it. And when we were brick and mortar, it was a little bit like when we were in the cupcake shop, we were there, help running it. And it was it kind of, we were really working night and day. Yeah. So being mobile just allows us to be able to go to people. And so,
Y'all do weddings even.
Yes, absolutely.
So, yes. we mentioned our friends over at Copper Quilt. They do a great job too. But Tony really likes to stay stationary. He doesn't want to move the trailer around.
Yeah.
So we're really the only ones in the area. I'll say this now, and we'll have 10 minutes. But it's kind of cool. There's been a niche, for the season, and we've been allowed to organically with social media.
Yes.
Free, free social media, being able to brand ourselves and to have people reach out and need us for events.
So we don't have an overhead, and that makes such a difference,
And we try to make that experience like amazing. So if anybody does ask us to come out and contracts us out, we want you literally to have a mobile cafe that's just a party, and everything's supplied, and we bring out a staff that's really sweet, and you know what I mean, especially for the weddings and going out of town. Now we're going a little bit further distance than we probably want to go all the time, but because the trailer's tough to drive around. I mean, stuff bounces everywhere, and a lot of wear and tear on the machines. And but man, we're getting to go to some really first class, amazing weddings, and we're so appreciative because if it wasn't the people in the woodlands and outside areas, we'd have no business. It's them that supplies it. It's you guys that love on us and allow us to come to your schools and to your hospitals. We do the hospital events, the colleges. I mean, it's just amazing, man. Sweet network.
And had you even thought about that when you started? Did you even okay, this trailer, we're going to be able to do weddings and college functions, and school functions? Was that even on your radar when you started?
I think I was I was open.
Everybody
was like, you need to tell me what you want to do. What do you want to do? I want it all. Take me everywhere. Take the trip. I think, but we were like, we'll just sit on the side of the road, and hopefully that will generate enough business. And we sat at a food truck bar called Deacon Baldy's. Kevin Mims, super sweet, said, "Come bring it out there." And it just mixed a little bit with their culture. But there was nobody really doing food at the time we were there. So it was just us
in the morning
driving
hours.
people to Deacon Baldy's, and there was no food to facilitate. And once we left Deacon Baldy's, we ended up getting tied into some church preschools, right?
Yes.
And we started going out to the churches and just sitting there for their preschool moms and staff and whatever, Woods Edge and Faith Bible. And
Chick-fil-A has been really gracious.
Chick-fil-A came alongside and said, "Hey, here's the deal.
Yeah.
We will help you out."
To sell their Chick-fil-A.
Yep. Wow.
We had foods. We had chicken and coffee. And I don't even know if the owners really knew about the whole relationship till later. A guy's like, "Where are these pictures at? Who are you?" You're my Chick-fil-A and your coffee trailer everywhere. And then, Colleen and Kendrick, we really have a great relationship. They own the Alden Bridge and Magnolia store. So actually all the Chick-fil-A's in the area have been super duper supportive of us. Yeah. Casey and Joe over on 242 in Conroe. So cool relationships from a little bitty trailer. And I think it goes back to kind of a dream that Marcia had.
Yeah.
Probably the story of our life. But
and it wasn't really a dream. It was more just waking up in the middle of the night, just kind of God speaking to me that it may seem small, but it's big. It may seem little, but it's big. It's not, our idea, just, oh, wow, we got to have this big thing or brick and mortar or, you think of Starbucks, right? They're on every corner practically.
I want in.
But he spoke to me saying that, it may seem small, but really affecting people and touching people's lives. That was really that we could be a vessel to be able to do that through coffee,
Yeah. Coffee is the connector.
Yeah. Do you have the comments on? Can you see the comments coming through?
I can't see them.
I don't think so.
But I want them. Where are they?
I've never been a guest on one of these, so I can't tell you how to navigate your.
Okay.
They're probably very private because they could go south really quick.
We've got Wilbur. Wilbur's commented on here. Kevin Brown, Ryan Stanley.
Right.
Everybody's commenting. Probably your crew on your Facebook page, which is one of the awesome things about doing it this way, is so we can spread the word on so many different areas. If you just tuned in on the Hebrews community page, we're the Common Grounds podcast, sponsored by Roasters Marketplace. We're actually broadcasted on 3 different Facebook pages right now. We're on Common Grounds podcast page. We're on the Roasters Market podcast page, or Roasters Marketplace page. We're on the Hebrews page, and we're also on my YouTube channel on the Roasters Marketplace, just canvassing everything that we can to spread the story to amazing people. And that's what the cool thing about this is, when you're like, did you listen to the podcast? And I said, no, I haven't listened to the other podcasts. Yeah, I want it to be a surprise. And now that when you made that face before we started, you're like, okay, you get the story. That it all makes sense. Are you ready
for the story?
Yeah, it's so amazing to hear just everybody's journey to get where they're at today and to get where they're going to.
Right.
That's awesome.
And that's really the thing is I think even Geoff really never thought it would be a reality. He'll tell you that, you know, they might have joked about it and said, yes, you know, Hebrews, you know, but he says, you know, he never really thought it would really come to pass, you know. That
guy Wilbur that chimed in on the comments. So Wilbur and Kevin are two guys that were gone with me.
Yeah.
And Wilbur's one of them, but we were drinking Hebrews coffee at, you know, sitting on the concrete at a Bible study.
Yeah.
And whatever it's doing, it generates a community. And I think we capitalize. If we love people, you know, coffee's great. If it's great coffee, it's great. But 77% of the world's population is drinking coffee. Mm-hmm. But if we can love people, if we can get people in connection with other people, if we can make these connections and let other people be in a relationship and go do great things, like I think we win. You know, we win rather than just making great lattes. And it's very easy to get onto the production side. Say, I've got to sell 1 billion lattes today. Mm-hmm. You might just need to meet one person today because you have no idea who that person is and what he could do and where they can take you and what they mean in your life. So we've been checked a lot, or at least I have. Marsha's pretty humble. It's not about the coffee, but we need to sell more. We got to go more places. And but we're very excited that we can be a supply hand and basically a brand here in the Woodlands, Texas, and that, you know, all the neighborhoods allow us to come in and do coffee at their bus stops or be around their children, and maybe not after this story they're hearing right now. But anyway, but no, most people know I'm pretty transparent. So you guys, if you know me, you know my story. You know it's my stories for you to share. If you know anybody that's suffered from incarceration or families or loved ones that deal with it, we'd love to sit and talk with them and walk them through any pain points that they're going through. We believe this is a ministry, although we are a business, but we treat it like that. And we want to be in your life, and we want to help you at any point we can.
When you start talking about connecting everybody, I guess we've got a viewer in Jerusalem right now. I don't know if it's actually Jerusalem or I'm going.
Hi,
okay.
Joan, we love Joan. Wow. Okay, I can see you.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go.
Hey, that's just not anybody from Jerusalem.
That's right. She's amazing.
She's a power player.
That's awesome. That's
we got to meet her through another friend of ours. So pretty amazing.
That's awesome. So tell me about the Humvee. So I know that's on my list of questions here. We've bounced around and we've covered 90% of my stuff already with the story. Yeah. But tell me about how you ended up with the Humvee, because
the Humvee. The Humvee gets like more action than we get, okay? The Humvee is, I don't know if you guys can, I don't know if you can see it.
You
it's
might
even come clear. So the Humvee right now is at a really nice golf club called Carlton Woods. So the Humvee is doing really well. We're at work, hanging out right now. It was so sad, man. The U.S. military, I guess, couldn't supply Hummers this week for Representative Kevin Brady was doing a golf tournament, and then he's got a big prayer breakfast tomorrow morning that we'll be a part of. Now, I didn't connect any of this until this weekend, but we were reached out to by his administration saying, hey, we know you have a Hummer and we're coming to take it. No, and they were like, can we please borrow it, because we can't, the military, something's going on with security clearance. We can't get the 2 Hummers that we always have every year. And I was like, yes. My wife's like, well, hold on now, because we really were using it for an outreach, and we had when these guys came to get it, we had about 15 kids like climbing all over it. And so the brother that it's a long story. Yeah. All of it worked together in the beginning of the business. The Hummer really became a kind of a throw-in deal with the trailer. And the brother's like, I just want you guys to have a truck to drive around with. Right. I said, I don't know, a Hummer. I mean, okay, all right. So we received it gladly in the Lord, and just said, we had the Hummer for about 1.5 years. It's now changed ownership back from us. This is going to sound crazy. When we kind of bought out the partners, it went back to the original owner, and then he just left it with us.
Yeah,
and so
we still
have
technically
it.
have it, but
it's not a Hebrews titled Hummer, but it's a Hebrews marked up and advertising Hummer.
Yeah.
So that's just kind of the relationships that we have with these guys. They're like, oh, we want to take it back, and it's just all paperwork, So I don't want to sit in my yard. So you guys just So it can go. It's been fun. I mean,
it is. It's fun. A lot of people in the community, they love it. Or they'll say, "Hey, yes, we see your Hummer," or "Oh, we've seen Hebrews Hummer going by." Or
if you live in Panther Creek, I'm sure it's not really fun for you. You got to drive around it every time you kind of come out of your neighborhood. But
I can't even imagine trying to drive one of those things around the
great.
neighborhood. I've spent a better part of my adult life crammed into the front seat of one of those. In various countries around the world, and not on the top of my list of fun things.
There you go. There you go.
In the summertime, it's just
it wears off pretty quick. I had a guy who lived in Carlton Woods pull up one time in a big Rolls Royce, and we're friends with this guy. He's great. Hopefully, he's listening. And he said, "Hey," he jumps out of the car middle of summer. "Hey, trade me." I said, "Bro, I'm dripping. It's like morning." I said, "Listen, 20 minutes, you're going to be coming back for that Rolls Royce. I promise you." He goes, "No, we got to connect. But it's been because there is nothing like fancy about this Hummer. It's literally military, demilitarized with nothing, no air, sea, no nothing. But it's been a cool point for us to connect with people, though. And I don't know what the Hummer means to Americans, but it does something to them. I don't know how it boosts a little bit of national pride. I don't know if they understand the Hebrews coffee reference. I don't know why we have a coffee Hummer, but it's been a really cool touch point for us. I don't even think we appreciate it as much as it should be appreciated because kids play on it and dads look at it differently. And military guys are just like, wow. And they get to drive it around. We do events with it. So it's pretty cool,
So the next thing I've got, tell us a little bit about your recent involvement in the anti-human trafficking.
Sure.
Let's talk about that a little bit.
So we were probably pretty ignorant to trafficking when we came together. Yes. I think a lot of us are. And we started probably one of our second events. So the first event was the Christian rock concert. The second event was Becca Carey and Hands of Justice. And they invited us to a church. So crazy. The guy that I did the podcast with a couple days ago, he was there that day. He was talking about the coffee. He said, wasn't that great that day? But he said, but I've had it since and it's fantastic. I said, I'm sorry to all the people that drank coffee the first couple of weeks. We got better. Okay, come back. But we got involved with one anti-trafficking event. We went and watched one deal. And I thought, man, I don't even know if we have a clue what's going on.
Our eyes were really open. They really were. But we got to do that. They wanted us to come and do coffee. And so we went to that one. And then from that,
we started meeting some people that wanted to do really a collective event. It was called the first collective event. And then the second collective event we did last month, I think.
Out in Clear Lake.
With Missionaries for Hope. And they just filmed a movie called Groomed, like a 15-minute short film that was really good. And we got to go out and do. So we've been tied into Clear Lake, League City areas, Elisha Rising, some of the bigger organizations that are fighting against that in Houston. And somehow we've become like the coffee sponsor group that goes and does those events with them. And so much so, we actually, Marcia's not as excited as I am. With the buyout, things are taking place. Man, God allowed us to have some part-time jobs. We have a brother that owns a logistics company. He's also tied into Grace Theological Seminary. And so he said, do you think you could just help me? We have some transition and staff and stuff going on. Do you think you can come in and help me and also help me with the seminary side? I'd love to connect some more people into that. And I was like, yeah. And I said, but my wife comes with me. So, no, actually, she's the one. She has all this logistics experience. I have nothing. And so when the first week I'm at logistics, we go down to the Port of Houston and there's an anti-trafficking rally. And I took some pictures.
For truckers. And
I thought, man, the truckers are aligning and they're ending trafficking with organizations called More Than a Move and Gulf Winds Trucking. And I thought, oh man. So we've been tied into that now through the transportation industry and the logistics industry. So, man, there's a lot going on with it. We want to do more with it. Our heart is always to expose it. When you see obnoxious pictures of me and being in places and trailers, it's really only to expose the place that we're at. I want you to know that there's a ministry doing something in Clear Lake that you would never know about unless we were there.
We wouldn't.
I wouldn't know, you know. And so everywhere we go, it's like, man, there's a church. Hey, there's a group that's doing this, or hey, there's a business that cares about this, and that's kind of my heart, is to expose what's happening.
And it's really sweet that we get to be a part of it. Stephanie and Kirk, just coming to know them through them wanting to have
Missionaries
coffee.
for Hope.
Yeah, Missionaries for Hope. Super sweet. And now they're just like, you guys are going to be at all our events, you know, and I think they usually do like a yearly big event, but just the opportunity. We wouldn't have this opportunity if we didn't do what we do, and to meet these other ministries and the people that are, you know, really trying to have an impact in our city and our communities.
It's amazing how everything works out, huh?
Right?
Crazy.
Yes.
Crazy. Every day it changes. It's new connections, it's new people.
Yes.
So what's on the horizon? What's next for Hebrews?
I was speaking with my accountant. Do you know accountants work in the prophetic? Okay, they're very prophetic people. She said, I think things are about to blow off the roof for you. I don't know what that means for us. We're very content with. I tried to scale in my mind. I tried to go 10 trailers and work my way back. I tried to do everything that business classes would teach you, and I'm fairly content that we can do exactly what we're doing and be happy for the rest of our lives, because we ultimately get to run about 2 to 3 events a weekend. We get to do fun weddings. We get to go hang out with great people. We get to be on KSBJ. We get to be, I mean, there's just all sorts of connections from nothing. It's just a trailer, you know, but what God wants to do with it, I don't know. We have an amazing staff of kids that are just, they're great. And they could run and work these things without us. And they do that for us at Freedom Church. They've been
doing great. Yes.
So it's just the future. I'd love to have multiple trailers, just from a business standpoint of owning the equity in those trailers. If we ever had to sell them, we could sell them. It's like owning property. Having 2 or 3 around the Woodlands, one for catering, one that sits on the side of the road, and one that does high schools, you know. But that's so small. I don't know. You know, we need a network, and we want to be supplying coffee for Chris Johnson. We want to really build his business up and bless him. You know, he's the only one who's really roasting for us, and we tend to keep it that way because it's it's just quality, but we love the relationship with him.
Right.
It helps his family. It helps our family, knowing that his cold brew is the best thing we've ever tried. His, organic coffees are the best thing we've ever roasted, and they're consistent over years period of time.
He works so hard. I sit there.
He really does.
He works so hard. He's so much on it.
You know, he's at work, right? Chris, you're probably not watching it because he's working right now.
Yeah, he's not doing if he's roasting, he's not paying attention to anything else unless there's a little boy running around.
Yep.
You know, he's focused on it.
Isn't it amazing how he times the cracks? And see if there's any deviation from last week or last batch. On the notebook and on his computer and on his screen, and he's tracking numbers. I've got some really good video and some pictures of him. Cool.
Roasting,
we need to expose that
I just haven't processed yet, but it's an amazing process that he does. And I'm looking forward to getting him up on the website hopefully here soon. So we'll be selling purified coffee as well. In the next 4 weeks. So it's pretty cool. So from here, multiple trailers. Yeah. Hopefully. Yeah. That's the next step.
Rather than blow it all on retail, I just don't know, because we live in the Woodland, stuff's very expensive. I think there's a lot of people doing a very good job with retail coffee, even the faith in family markets. I think Love Beans looks great. I think Blue Door looks great. I think Third Gen looks great. So maybe we become niche and we just do mobile. And maybe even contracting to those guys when they have something. Maybe there's a blank canvas trailer that other coffee companies can rent.
And also even church cafes. That's one of, we started out at Freedom, but, the possibility of other churches wanting a church cafe, but not wanting the headache or really not knowing how to deal with it. So that's something that we definitely, can continue to do.
And that's still something I don't quite understand, the amount of the amount that coffee is tied into faith-based businesses now.
Huge.
In the social media market, I see it. Or talking to some of my roasters across the country, that it's a big, that it's a big thing in churches, that
right.
or in certain demographics or
sure.
Yeah. I'm looking for denominations. That's what it's more the non-denominational churches too, from what
if you look at, if we have maybe a couple minutes, we've got a great church that we're involved with, Faith Bible Church, that and Woods Edge, and probably a lot of the church. They supply coffee to all their congregants, and it's probably Folgers, or it's probably something that's just a nothing grade coffee at bulk.
Yeah.
If you can do a missional, some of the coffees that Chris is sourcing, one of them particularly was called Agape, and Agape is the whole goal was that part of the proceeds would go back to plant a church in Costa Rica. And I don't know if we've done a great job in supplying into that, but I mean, Agape is a great coffee. And so that's just one little portion that if a church bought that coffee, it would go back to support Dominique, who's part of our little church network. Okay, that's just one. And there's other groups. There's Second Cup. There's other companies that are doing ending trafficking, or whatever their mission and heart is.
Right.
That coffee is supplying that need into that. And it's really, really sweet, But I know with the faith-based markets is one day. Let's say if it was just Sunday, you've got 600 to 1,000 people drinking coffee. You know what I mean? So yeah, there's a big market there, and if you can do a good job and turn that into a little connection ministry, because you're already paying for the coffee, it blows your church up, because now people are talking, engaging. John wants cream in his coffee, or sugar, or Splendor. So it's just one more point of contact. The churches are realizing that, oh, okay, now I'm connecting even more with people walking through the door. So it's worth the expense. Mm-hmm. It's worth the money we're spending on coffee, because actually it's getting us relationships.
Right.
And if it was good coffee, they'd probably come back a second time.
Oh yeah, better coffee. And you'd be able to say, hey, this coffee, this is the mission of where we're getting the coffee from. Everybody, this is not a huge industrial complex that's built, that's basically just farming millions and millions of acres and turning it into, commodity grade coffee. This is a husband and wife team, a small business that is only buying directly from the farmer in Guatemala or in Costa Rica. Right. People who really don't understand how the coffee industry works. They don't understand what that $4 a pound means as to 6 cents a pound.
Yes.
They really don't.
There's
probably some great education you guys can do on this show with fair trade and organic idea and direct trade. And that's an unknown to most people buying coffee out of EGB.
Oh yeah.
Makes sense. That supply chain is really important.
Right.
And those farmers, those small farmers who produce great beans, can really be exposed. Their stories can be told, and it's awesome. You feel more connected with that farmer.
And the coffee's better.
Yep,
that's right.
The coffee's way better. And I'm almost done with my Hebrew espresso here today. So and that about, we're almost there. We're at 53 minutes.
Yeah,
4 minutes. I really appreciate y'all coming on the show today.
Yes.
Where are y'all going to be at here this weekend? What's coming up?
This weekend is, if you guys are in the area, we're going to a big men's retreat. The coffee will be at Camp Choyo in Livingston for 3 days straight. I have no idea how we're going to roast to meet that need. That'll probably be 400 to 500 guys constantly drinking out in the middle of the woods somewhere. So if anybody would like to volunteer with me and make a little money on the side, you guys come down, you ride out there with me, and we'll do it together, because my poor wife's probably not going to last all weekend. But yeah, so we'll do that. And then the next week we have weddings, and actually there's a really sweet schedule of schools. Anytime you want to look at where we're at, Facebook, just at Hebrews Community Coffee, and you can kind of look. I'm pretty good about just uploading events, even if they're not that crazy of an event. But we'll be at Haley Elementary. We'll be at different schools. We'll be at a certain girl's wedding. We'll be doing a lot of things probably Thursday, Friday, Saturday of the following week as well, and Monday.
And I'll put up links to the Facebook page if you're not already on there watching. If you're watching on my Facebook or on my YouTube, I'll put up links on this video later on back to your website and back to your Facebook and contact information. That way, any of our viewers can get in touch with you and schedule you for their events. Maybe come out for a birthday party or a graduation coming up.
Yes.
Love it.
Springtime coming.
It's too small.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So I'd like to thank you and Marcia. Geoff, thanks for coming on. Marcia, thanks for telling y'all's story and sharing a little bit of your life with our viewers today. I really, really appreciate it. And I think it's really cool that y'all are actually now the first Common Grounds podcast.
Awesome. We're excited. Thank you for having us. Yes.
Thank you. Thank you for being on. And so once again, I've got to pay some bills here right quick. So I'm going to put up a banner. My next show is going to be Wednesday night, February 19th at 6:30 p.m. We're talking to Ike from Big Tex Outdoors. Really awesome local business here that a lot of people don't know that he's actually out of Conroe.
Awesome.
We'll talk to Ike a little bit here coming up. You can also find more information about Roasters Marketplace at roastersmarketplace.com. We currently have a sale going on. If you use the coupon FREE, it's all free shipping for the rest of the week for President's Day. So we've got that going on our website as well. So I've got a little bit, I think I've got 105 roasts now available on the website with over a dozen small batch coffee roasters from all over the United States and Guatemala. I have a farmer roaster conglomerate from Guatemala as well on the website. It's pretty cool. So thanks, and I'll be seeing y'all here in a couple of weeks when y'all are back at the farmers market. Jeffrey,
right.
Marcia, y'all have a great week. Thank you very much.
Bless you guys.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.